Mary Kwon is a film that blends two genres that often go hand in hand, horror and thriller, but unfortunately misses the fundamentals of both. Some of the best thrillers have horror elements rooted within them. They build tension and suspense around the unknown. Films like The Silence of the Lambs and Funny Games immediately come to mind. But it's a difficult blend to pull off because it requires balance, consistency, and a clear understanding of tone. And that's where this film struggles. It follows an English professor who takes a sabbatical after the death of her mother and returns to her childhood home, which has since been foreclosed on. The biggest problem starts with the script. The film never seems completely sure of what kind of horror movie it wants to be. It starts off as a ghost story and then initially leans heavily into that idea before eventually pivoting. It never completely abandons the supernatural elements, but it moves away from the structure and tone needed to make that work. Then the film quietly kind of shifts into something closer to a home invasion film, or home invasion thriller. The problem is that neither direction is developed enough to work. Instead, the film begins to feel scattered, especially around its attempt to build its backstory out. The lack of consistency carries over into the direction. There is this long, drawn-out scene that seems to exist primarily to deliver information needed to move the story forward. The introduction of the antagonist is probably the clearest example of this. It plays like a scary movie scene, spoofing the strangers. The interaction through the door is awkward because the dialogue sounds like it was written as satire, while the scene itself is directed and played as if it were completely grounded and serious. Even the performances seem caught between those two approaches. Later, the dinner scene essentially becomes a context dump. Instead of naturally working this information into the story, the film stops to explain what we need to know and just tells us. The cinematography suffers from a similar lack of direction. There's a variety of shots and techniques used throughout the film, but only a handful truly feel intentional, and the rest just kind of thrown in there. For most of the movie, the camera feels disconnected from the emotion of the scene rather than being used to create or enhance it. And unfortunately, the performances never find a consistent tone either. It often feels like the actors were given conflicting direction, resulting in performances that seem to belong in completely different versions of the same movie. The film showcases a first-time filmmaker willing to take a big swing by combining multiple ideas and genres. But sometimes less is more. Without a consistent tone or clear vision, trying everything together, the film ultimately misses the mark. For my full written review, check out fourtimefilmschooldropout.com. And as always, if you'd like to see here and you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for daily film content.